Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations, you have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up, and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile-friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Hello, everybody. This is the MLBeers podcast with your hosts, Andrew Sherman and Philip Corwin. Philip, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Finally getting a day off, and then I get another day off tomorrow. So it's like I'm back on a normal work schedule.
You know what? I kind of wish that I wish I was like that, because
you're back at school now.
Yeah, I work my two jobs, which one of them is about to go away soon. The season's almost over.
I was about to say, the AA season's over at the end of the month?
We'll be done, I believe, September 3rd or 4th. But
okay.
Our final,
and then are they going to the playoffs?
It's still a tight race. I believe they are still one game up. They didn't play yesterday. They had the day off, but I believe they have they're one game ahead of Tulsa, which has been really down to the nitty-gritty, and I think every game is magnified.
How are the Naturals doing? Because I know they won the first half of the season.
The Naturals, after they won the first half of the season, they just kind of went downhill. And a lot of people that I talk to about that, they say that usually the team that wins the first half isn't usually the strongest when it comes to playoff time, because it's usually the team that does well in the first half. Those players are taken because everybody's seeing how everybody is doing. So
those AA players get called up to AAA.
They either get called up or sent down, and then they get new guys, from single A or whatever. And so that's what it's been.
Or they get the low-performing AAA players that still aren't performing well.
Yeah, and that's what's been going on with the whole Texas League. And I mean, the season is almost done for everybody. Actually, I believe all the minor league
AAA will be done. I think they get done like the second week of September.
Mm-hmm. I know that all the I know that they try to get done at least before playoff time in the MLB, and I know that they kind of have to somewhat play with it a bit, because of the 40-man roster.
In September,
and September call-ups and all that stuff, which, of course, we'll be talking about all that next week, and a little bit of, minor league baseball.
Which will be perfect, because that'll be 3 days before call-ups.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it's going to be a little bit hectic here and there for the minor leaguers, especially the
guys on that 40-man roster.
Yeah, because it's going to be down, like I said, to the nitty-gritty because of how everything is going. Like I said, the Cardinals are only one game up, and Tulsa hasn't been backing down either. Tulsa has been kind of the better team per se for the last
which
month and a half.
Affiliate are the Drillers?
They are the Los Angeles Dodgers affiliate.
Okay.
I think it was like 5 years ago, they made the change from the Rockies. So like all the good players from the Rockies from now since 2013 went through the Texas League. Dexter Fowler, Nolan Arenado. Hell, I actually had a conversation with one of the scouts that thought Arenado wasn't going to be that great of a player. And look where he's at now. He laughed.
Right.
He laughed at it because he was like, "Wow, I sound like such a dumbass after that happening." So it was just, it's kind of cool that a lot of people do pay attention to all that stuff, and it's almost kind of a livelihood in a way for the scouts and everything else in between there. But you know what?
Oh, hey.
Yeah, what's up?
I know we're about to get into it, but David Wright will be DHing tonight for the St. Lucie Mets.
Ooh, that will be an interesting one for Met fans that listen to this that are listening to the podcast. That will be interesting for the Mets fans because I've been seeing a whole lot of this or that. David Wright should go. He hasn't been playing since for the last 3 years. Yada yada yada, which has been very, very interesting to say the least. I think the one thing before we get into the baseball news and a little bit more about David Wright, we do have to say that we're on our 25th episode. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty awesome about it. We started this back in February, and we've gone every week since.
Yeah, it's
there's probably been a couple weeks where both of us at separate times want to be like, let's not do it this week, but we did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and definitely I will have to kind of say today was like, I don't want to do it right now at 2. But we're doing it anyway because you brought up my classes. And I'm just like, I don't want to go to class. I've already it's not a class that I've already taken, but what the course material is very basic stuff that I've already learned through other courses, and really technically
with
don't
that gen ed. Why are you taking it so late?
I don't have a gen ed. It's not a gen ed. It's
Oh.
It's just my media course that I need. But I've already talked to you about this, but I'm thinking of trying to actually try to get out of that. Try to test out of it, quote unquote. Because I don't know how, how every school works, but I know some schools that I've dealt with, if you can take, if it's a gen ed like math or history or whatever, if you take like a quick 50 question test, and if you get like a C or B range, then you pass the class and you don't have to go to the class anymore. And it's odd because it's a media class, and what we have to do in there is we have to do presentations of edits that we made, shots that we've done, and all that stuff. And I've already done that. I already have a portfolio already started on YouTube. Even though it's my reporting stuff, it's still I've already done it. I know what a wide shot is. I know what a medium shot is. I know what a close up is, and every shot in between. But it's kind of, that's where I'm just like,
Do you know about the money shot?
I do know about the money shot, but I've never dealt with the money shot, thank the Lord. So but overall, I think it's kind of one of the things that, one of the classes that I don't need. I've already got everything down, so there's just no need for me to take that class, and it would save time and save money for me, for the university, and would probably help other students that he gets the time to work with other students than me. Just saying.
All right.
And I will have to say, I think, we brought this up just not too long ago, how we've just been wanting to, we don't want to do it today, we don't want to do it this week, whatever, but we kept on doing it. And I think the one thing is, every time we kept on doing it, we kept on saying, all right, we need to make this at least an hour 15, an hour 30. Never happens.
No.
I'm not expecting. I make a rundown every time. I send it to Phil.
We time it out.
Try to time it out the best that we can. We have timers right next to us. I have my iPhone stopwatch on at the moment. I really haven't started it yet because we're in our intro and we're just having fun at the moment. But it's just like we wanted to time this, but we never really accomplished doing it until the past couple of weeks, the past 2 episodes, actually.
Which, finally when we actually started paying attention to it, it's gotten better. So,
Yeah, the overall, it hasn't been an arc, thank the Lord. It's been just a straight line of how overall our shows have been done, have been better. Everything's more organized in a sense, and we're not blabbing too much about a lesser thing and not giving him much credit to a major thing. And that was kind of my worry, but everything is working out now. Thank the Lord, I guess, for all the people that, have a religious affiliates with them. But it's
Cthulhu.
Yeah. Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, yeah.
I was like, Chihuahua? What? This ain't El Paso, son.
Come on, Baxter. I don't speak Spanish.
But it's just that, it's been a hell of a ride. Let's do 25 more at least unless some job tells me not to do this anymore.
And then we'll stab them.
Stabbing probably won't get me that job. But
they don't got to know.
I guess, yeah. Because, I could just say it's self-defense, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, enough of that. Let's get to business, shall we? So everything that's been going on, people are going on the DL. Curtis Granderson, if you haven't heard, has been lights out for the Dodgers. He's already hit his 2nd grand slam, I believe, for the Dodgers. His 3rd this month. His 3rd hit. It's like
that's some pretty good baseball luck.
Yeah, it's been and we'll get into that, and the reason why we're going to be talking about Granderson, of course, we'll get into that, and then of course we talked about it earlier last week about the MLB Players Weekend. We talked about a little bit about the Little League World Series and the Little League Classic. We'll talk about much more, what's been going on with the World Series and what we liked and what we didn't like with the Little League Classic. There was a couple things that were a bit questionable here and there. And I guess, I thought I thought I had something in mind, but I guess I don't now. So I guess let's actually, let's get into this. So we brought it up. Curtis Granderson traded to the Dodgers. And Phil, you brought it up before we actually started the recording, how you were like, what was really the reason for Curtis Granderson? What was the Dodgers' thought process with Curtis Granderson? He wasn't doing well in the season.
But it makes sense to bring on a guy who is hitting better than Jock Peterson. And Jock Peterson just went on the DL. Mm-hmm. Cody Bellinger, who plays first base and outfield, also just went on the DL.
Mm-hmm.
So they went out and got a guy fairly cheap that can produce.
Yeah, let's get that right. He can produce. He's not, he's not a showstopper. His August numbers at the moment, he's 250, 344, and 714. That's a slash line. His OPS is over 1,000, and his isolated power rating is a 464.
And that's what, for the year, his OPS is an 821, and his ISO is a 260.
Yeah, and he's kind of getting in a sense, a resurgence from this trade because, back in 2015, he was the big part of their offense going to the World Series and all that stuff. But now Granderson is a bit older. He's not producing as well, and even though he has the 2 grand slams already, it's not working. It didn't work for the Mets. It doesn't kind of make sense for the Dodgers, even though you did bring up that Bellinger and Jock Peterson are now on the DL. It was just, it was something that it was just very left field in a way.
Is that pun intended?
You know what? I will say yes on that one. Usually I'm no, but I'm yes on this one this time.
Yeah. And of course, not a lot of August trades really go on, and this one, like you said, it kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dodgers are just more or less securing their already secured spot into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's kind of the funny thing too, how Jock Peterson and Cody Bellinger go on the 10-day DL. Then you try to look at the Dodger fan base, see all the Twitter feeds from them or the comments section on a certain article, and they're kind of just like, let the good times roll with this. Let Bellinger not only take the full 10 days, but give him a little bit of a light rehab. He doesn't have to come back automatically. They're already in the playoffs, and
especially when September call-ups happen.
Yeah, and also with Jock Peterson, he's injured. He wasn't doing well. I mean, his batting average for August is a .054.
For the year, he was only hitting .215.
Yeah, I mean,
his OPS was a 747.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't bad. A 747 isn't that bad, but could be a lot better.
Yeah, and I think they expect a lot more out of Peterson.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it's just really, now sorry, but I just have to say this. Now I'm trying to get into Trumpisms here. But anyway,
it wasn't the worst trade deal in history.
It wasn't the worst trade deal in history. It was just something that they needed to secure in the outfield. Even though we've talked about this many of times, they have an abundance in the outfield.
But is Granderson a free agent after this year, though?
I think how the contract is going to go, I believe he will be. Because I believe that the Mets kind of bought up some of it or something. I can't remember. But I just know that they didn't want...
No, this is his last year.
Okay.
He signed a 4-year contract in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good for 14, 15, 16, and 17.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they probably picked up the last half of this contract. He'll finish the year out with the Dodgers, maybe win a World Series.
Mm-hmm. And
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it will kind of be, a Cinderella story in a way for him because he's just been through so many teams. I don't think he's had a title yet. Because I want to say, I was like, the closest one would be the Yankees in 2009, but I don't believe he was part of that Yankees team. So even though,
so really, ahead. I was just going to kind of just move on from the Dodgers,
Yeah, even though they're taking up all the headlines, I mean,
they are.
Okay, you take all the wins, now you want to take all the headlines. Whatever, Dodger Nation.
Other guy that just went on the DL from them too is Yu Darvish.
Mm-hmm.
And what exactly is his injury? I didn't find it.
I believe it was something with his legs. It's usually a leg or a hand injury. That was the other thing too. The trade rumors really didn't bring it up. And that's why I was just like, trade rumors, come on now. You got to give me a little bit of loving.
Back injury.
See, there it is, the back injury. And
Clayton Kershaw starting his rehab in AAA.
Which I was hoping that it would be AA, and it would have been Saturday, because I believe I worked that day. So it would have been awesome to see Clayton Kershaw.
If Darvish goes on the 10-day DL, Kershaw will be back soon enough. And again, they just kind of have the big enough lead in the West to not really have to worry about it.
Yeah, and
it only becomes a problem if these same guys are still hurt when the playoffs start.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And theoretically, they have a month of time to get healthy and rehab and maybe not pitch as much the first half of September.
Mm-hmm.
But the second half of September, get back on their regular schedule so they're ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's...
Like, if I were to approach it, that's what I would do. If I could give them extra time off in the beginning of September, I would.
Yeah, that's pretty understandable. I mean, I think that's what I think a lot of GMs would probably follow your advice, even though they would probably never hear it. But they
No.
probably have something like that, going on with that. And there's, kind of been a couple other guys too, sticking with the pitching on the DL that are part of major teams that are fighting for spots right now. For your Kansas City Royals, they have Neftali Feliz and Joaquim Soria injured. And
Soria had a really bad outing the day before he went on the DL.
Mm-hmm. And so it kind of could have been something lingering, but then he finally was like, all right, I'm going on the DL for this.
Yep. And Feliz, I didn't really see it coming, but he's pitched okay for us, but he's been kind of his lead. It's just been his stat line for the year.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't really came in and impressed since he got DFA'd from the Brewers. And the Royals, they do got a couple options in their bullpen. So hopefully Ryan Buchter and Brandon Maurer can step up. Mm-hmm. And Mike Minor and Scott Alexander still pitch well. And they brought back Eric Skoglund. So.
Mm-hmm. And actually, an interesting thing real quick about Skoglund. Skoglund will be the first ever player in Royals history to wear the number 69.
Giggity.
See, that's another thing too. Just to do a little quick thing about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's him being quote unquote.
No, it's because Melky Cabrera is wearing his number.
All right. They didn't bring that up before.
And it was just left out. But no, Melky Cabrera is wearing his number.
But I also thought he was wearing 69 because that was the year the Royals were established.
Well, that would be cool if that was the real reason.
Because I know another, Sporting KC guy. I can't remember. It's not Diego Rubio, but it was another guy. There's a guy on the team that wears 96, the year that the Sporting KC became a team, which they were the Wizards back then. But still, it would have been cool to have that whole establishment number on the back of a guy's jersey. Maybe it might become a trend someday. Who knows? But
besides the Royals,
go ahead.
Let's stay within the division. The Indians put Andrew Miller and Danny Salazar on the 10-day DL as well.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those guys have been pitching. Well, Andrew Miller's been pitching Andrew Miller-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching well, low ERA. Danny Salazar kind of staying true to what his career stat line is. High strikeout, little bit high ERA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with Salazar and Miller, real quick on their August stats, Miller has been in 3 games, but only has pitched 1 1/3 of an inning, and he does have a high ERA, which is interesting enough. I guess he got battered one day, because his batting average was 200 in August, opponent's batting average, but he still had that high K rate, even a higher walk rate, which is outstanding. But everything else looks fine. Danny Salazar, he had a 3.38 ERA, he had a 13.13 strikeout per 9, walk per 9 of a 3. So
things
happen.
That was about on par for his year too.
Yeah.
Salazar had a 12.52 K per 9, 3.72 base on balls per 9, and a 4.30 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
Miller had his 13.01 K per 9, 2.8 balls per 9, and the opponent batting average of 1.37 and a 1.65 ERA.
Yeah, and this is his second injury in a key moment too, correct?
Yeah.
Because last year it was, the Indians came out of nowhere and had, a good rotation and bullpen, but with Salazar and Carrasco being injured
during the playoffs, it
during
really
the
hurt.
playoffs.
And Corey Kluber was hurt for a little bit too.
And Trevor Bauer. Let's not forget about the drone situation.
So 4 of their key pitching rotation guys and bullpen guy was just hurt.
Yeah.
And the fact that they made it to 7 games against the Cubs, which they probably should have won because they're up 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Now I'm waiting for all the Warriors, the Cavs and Warriors types comments after that.
Yep.
The 3-1.
But
yeah, I mean, but you're right. They had these incredible guys that were ready to go. I mean, hell, 2016, I was not thinking Indians to be in the playoffs or in the World Series. I was thinking all Cubs. They shined in 14, did really well in 15, and they won it last year. But I was not thinking of the Indians, and if everything goes well, this might be another crutch into another trying to, championship, quote unquote championship season. And that's been kind of the big thing with all these guys. And, staying within the division, not pitching side, but we're to the batting side. Miguel Sano, a guy that has done well for the Twins this year.
And the Twins just secured their second spot in the wild card race right now, where they're not tied.
Yeah, which is impressive.
Yeah, because they're only leading that second spot by half a game. Then Seattle's a game back, and Kansas City's a game and a half back. And I believe Kansas City, starting September 8th, that weekend, they play a weekend series against the Twins.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have a 3-game series against Detroit, and then that following 14th through the 17th, they have a 4-game series against the Royals.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's not back or producing after his injury, the Royals just have a very good chance of just taking that spot back.
Yeah, and
especially with the return of Salvador Perez tonight.
Mm-hmm. Which is another guy that we've seen. He was that key producer. You have been talking about him being that key producer, and watching that Cardinal series without him was kind of it actually showed.
You could tell.
Yeah,
the offense was lacking. The pitchers were able to attack the lineup differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can attack Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas more aggressively, knowing that Salvador Perez isn't hitting behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And because that if it goes Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, they were batting Brandon Moss after them.
Yeah.
So why not walk Eric Hosmer or Mike Moustakas, not give them anything to hit, and let Brandon Moss strike out or hit into a double play, and then after him you had Alex Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just work around those two guys, and then go against the guys that are barely hitting 200.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, what else can you do about that? Salvador Perez, you'd already talked about how he was a great
even defensively. He's not the best defensive catcher, but he is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Top 5 easily.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the thing there wasn't a fear. And I know a fear factor is kind of a big thing in the game of baseball, because that's how you attack the
And for the year, he has 21 home runs, is hitting 278.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's hitting a bunch of home runs low average. No, he's getting on base.
Mm-hmm.
He's only striking out 19% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's swinging 58% of the time, but that's normal for him. He swings at goddamn everything.
Yeah, that's true.
But he makes contact 80.2% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good or bad contact?
I mean, what's his BABIP? That's
293.
Okay, so it's a little bit underneath the average, but still, yeah. He's still making contact. He's still putting the ball in play.
Yeah, and his slugging is a 510, and his OPS is an 817.
Again, I don't know what else to say about Salvador Perez, because it's more, it's more praising.
His bat is finally catching up to his defensive prowess.
Mm-hmm.
For when he first came into the league. Because when he first came into the league, he was a terrible hitter, but very good defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Now both of them are kind of catching up to each other.
And which is a good thing. And, like I was saying, it's hard for me to say anything else about Salvador Perez because we already talked about it, and it would just be more of praising and everything else. Drew Patera, he's not a bad player, but he's no Salvador Perez, and that was the difference maker. Out of watching them against the Cardinals, Patera is good, but he's no Salvador Perez, and that was kind of the big thing that happened.
Butera is a very capable backup catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And I just pulled up his stats. For the year, Butera, in his 55 games and 103 at-bats, is hitting .269.
Yeah, I know that.
And his BABIP is a .311.
Mm-hmm. It's good, but it's not Salvador Perez.
No, it's not Salvador Perez good. But the fact that the Royals have that in a backup catcher at least makes it a little less worrisome as to other teams who have lost catchers and have had to play their backup catcher every day. That sucks.
Yes.
And they did call up one of their prospects, Cam Gallagher. He proved to be pretty good. He did win a Royals fan $25,000 by hitting his first career home run in the Sonic Slam inning.
Oh yeah, wasn't it a grand slam? That's how you get the 25,000.
Yep.
So the question is, does he present the check to the person? How does this go? Because I think that's how it should happen.
Yeah, because that was his first career home run, and that's like what he makes the league minimum.
Well, yeah, now he would make the league minimum. I was like, wait, by contract? Yeah, okay. You got to think about all the contracts and stuff. And we keep on talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just what Cam Gallagher did in his 5 games and 13 at-bats, he hit .385. So they had players that could come in and do well. But again, it's no Salvador Perez.
It's not the fear factor of Salvador Perez. And that's what we've just been trying to get to you all, in a sense, is that Salvador Perez, when you hear a big name guy like Kyle Schwarber, Anthony Rizzo, that's Cardinals' fear, in a sense, are those guys, and Chris Bryant, of course. But it's just those guys, once you hear those names and them being called up into the batter's box, you kind of get a little worried a little bit.
Yeah, one of those guys, too, like same thing, not as much, but what he was able to do in 2016 was Carlos Gomez. And, he just went on the 10-day DL, and the Rangers are only 2 games back of the world wild card spot. What is he doing for the month of August?
And, for the month of August, he's been an average guy. He has a .267 batting average, a .343 on base percentage, but a really impressive slugging percentage at .500, and his OPS is on base plus slugging is an .843. Not bad at all, just above the average. And his isolated power rating, if people go by that, is a .233. The guy has done well. His WRC plus 122, even though I will have to question his strikeouts a little bit. Where
he's always been a high strikeout guy. For the year, he's striking out 30% of the time.
Yeah, and that's where it's been kind of a little bit hit or miss, and
Ayo.
just
you're all sort of puns today.
Yeah, just hit or miss, and he's just been average. And this Carlos Gomez, is he? We brought it up with Salvador Perez. Is he a fear factor type of guy?
With his speed, yeah.
With his speed, you got me there. But anything else, it's nothing. Nothing else besides that has, really done anything like that. And, that's really it with all the injuries. All the key injuries to teams that are in playoff contention right now. We're not going to get into all the injuries because there's too many.
Yeah. There's always too many. And we like we talked about, we wanted to really keep it a little light this week and really hit the playoff race next week where it would be a little bit more heated up going into September.
Exactly.
Let's give it another week before we really start talking about it.
And, if you really look at this real quick, a guy that, that was part of the playoffs for the past 2 seasons, but nothing now, Marco Estrada. The Blue Jays are interested in extending his contract. The one thing is, do you?
He's not pitching that great.
Want to? And that's the question. Do you want to? The guy is 34. He's going to be by the next year. He's going to be. Actually, it would be his 33-year-old numbers this year, quote unquote, by baseball statistics. But anyway, getting back to what I'm saying, he's an old guy. He's over the 30-year-old hump. The question is, would you want to extend his contract?
All right, let me pull up his full career stats here.
Okay.
I just want to get a general idea. All right, I'll go back till 2013.
All right, I'm ready.
And I'm just running down ERA here.
Okay.
It goes 387, 436, 313, 348, and then ends with a 507 this year.
Ugh.
That's just quite the jump from 348 to 507.
Mm-hmm.
And he pitched in 29 games last year. He's already up to 26 this year. So if he stays on pace, he's going to pitch more than he did last year.
Mm-hmm. And another thing,
I would give him,
go ahead.
If I were the Blue Jays, I would give him a 2-year player option.
Okay.
With a team buyout option as well.
Okay.
If that's at all possible, to structure it that way.
I don't think it's possible.
Okay. Well, I would do it with the 2 years with a team option.
All right.
Front load it and give him. I wouldn't give him like $13 million a year, but probably around like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think any other teams are going to give him that much.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of his age and what has he done for us lately?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're right about that. He has regressed really bad, for the last couple of seasons.
So if anything, give him a 1-year deal.
Yeah, that would probably be
I think at this point in his career, that's what he's going to expect. That's what kind of deals that he is going to get.
Mm-hmm. And
if he wants to keep pitching, it's going to be 1-year deals.
And I will have to agree with you with that because, we keep on keep on saying he's old enough. His numbers aren't good. And, that 8 to 9 mil a year, 2-year deal, 18 mil total contract is not really bad for what he's giving out what he's giving out pretty much. And the weird thing is, if you look at the projected stats for the year, he was not really projected to do this. He was projected to do better. Zips was 397. Steamer, which is another one, I believe that's a Fangraphs only projection stat, is a 491. So he's more up to that, but still, he's not doing as well as he could be. High strikeout rate, a 9.08 strikeout per 9.
Yeah, but his opponent, his BABIP is a 310, and his opponent's average is a 258.
Mm-hmm. And that's where it kind of gets a little bit, a little bit hectic in a way with that. And so, yeah, that's it with the light baseball, and we're only less than 40 minutes into our conversation. So instead of taking our normal break, let's just do it all at once. Let's talk about the beers. And Phil, what are you drinking today for our special 25th episode of
Well,
the MLBeers podcast.
it's not beer today.
All right. I'm a little bit disappointed in you.
It's whiskey.
Okay. Special whiskey, it sounds
Special
like.
whiskey.
All
Special
right.
whiskey. I did this wine and craft beer-esque stroll last Saturday.
Okay.
And there's this new distillery opening about about the town over from where I'm at,
Okay.
and they're called Woodsman Distilling. Okay, Woodsman's Distilling.
Okay.
And
I was about to say
we
it's already got to you in a way.
Well, usually you hear distillery, and then I looked down at their label and it said distilling, and it threw me off.
Yeah, that is a bit weird.
But we went to their booth, and I tried their regular whiskey and the rye whiskey, and my wife did as well. And she's usually not a huge fan of any type of whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
But she tried this rye whiskey, and I really liked it. She looked at me, she's like, you need to buy a bottle of this right now. I'm just like, I'm not going to argue with that. Please give me a bottle.
The one time she has agreed with a purchase that you've done that has been alcohol related.
Yes. And I was like, please hurry up before she changes her mind.
And, you bring up the rye whiskey, which is made differently with instead of just the normal corn whiskey or now I was about to say potatoes, but that's vodka. I was just going to say that rye whiskey is made differently, but you said earlier before we got on that you had their original whiskey, and you said something that was very interesting to me that I would never expect from a normal whiskey without any type of additive like a fruit additive. Could you please explain?
If you haven't, I'm sure everyone has had Jack Daniels at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sweet whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So I get like in your taste buds in your nose and think Jack Daniels whiskey. And this is for Woodsmith's Distilling regular whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Take that Jack Daniels-esque smell and taste, but sweeter.
Yeah, that was the one thing that was kind of weird in a sense when you brought that up. I've never had any type of sweet whiskey in my life. Jack Daniels might have a little in it, but it's not overbearing. You still get that nice, hefty, bourbon whiskey taste to it.
Yeah, and this one it was really sweet, but it didn't have like that whiskey burn or anything like that.
Which might be a good thing for beginners.
Yes, if you're looking to get into decent whiskey, then yeah. But nothing tastes good like a nice little whiskey burn.
I will have to agree with that. And
especially if, and I don't know for Andrew, but when you drink whiskey, you need to drink it straight.
Mm-hmm.
Quit adding shit in there.
Well, don't look at me. People, everybody brings up the whole, you got to try, moonshine, which I know it's a whole different than just normal whiskey. But, people are like, moonshine with apple and cinnamon, moonshine with this, moonshine with that, whiskey with honey.
I do like flavored moonshine.
Which isn't bad, which is phenomenal compared to normal moonshine.
I was going to say, I've had normal moonshine. And if you want to put some goddamn hair on your chest and drink some gasoline, then I suggest it.
Yeah, I guess it would be kind of gasoline-ish. It's been a while since I've actually had moonshine.
I've had, we're not talking about the shit you buy from stores.
Not the Jack Johnson, Dave Stewart, whatever. I shouldn't say Dave Stewart. He was former GM of the Arizona Diamondbacks. But, these really, really, like, NASCAR.
If you see moonshine on a shelf, it's not real moonshine.
Yeah, because it's like
If you're buying moonshine from a store, it is not real moonshine. I've had some shit straight from a mason jar from the town we live in or that we're from. And you want to take maybe 2 sips, not swigs.
Sips.
Not shots.
Sips.
Sips. Because it's a different kind of drunk.
Whiskey. A different kind of drunk. No, it'd be moonshine.
Yeah,
a different
moonshine.
kind of drunk.
And yeah, if you're buying the shit from the shelf, it's not real.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've kind of, with those moonshines,
They've marketed it well.
They've marketed it well. They've diluted the crap out of it. Because really, in a sense, if you've ever seen the show Moonshiners, Phil, or any of the listeners right now, really the only difference between moonshine and whiskey is that pretty much it's the
a little bit of legality.
It's not only that. It's not only that. It's aged in barrels, because when you get moonshine, you really don't age it, and you don't dilute it either. When you get whiskey, it's aged for, you get the 4-year age, the 7-year, I would say
another whiskey I like, Knob Creek, they do 7-year.
Yeah. So like it's been aged in barrels. When it comes to normal moonshine, it's not aged. And that's
they take it straight from the still into a glass, and they hand it over to you.
Mm-hmm. They wait a week maybe,
yeah,
and then they give it to you.
When you age it, some of that alcohol ferments off, and soaks into the wood it's aging in.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you bring up we brought up the sweet taste. That's why sometimes you can kind of get a sweet taste from a Jack Daniel's or the the whiskey that you had, because sometimes when the wood and the whiskey come together, it has that burn which can come up and crystallize sugars in a sense. And also, of course, you can't have pretty much every alcoholic beverage without sugar in it per se, but you can definitely taste there's sugars with whiskeys and all that stuff. But enough about whiskey. Yeah,
that's enough about my whiskey. You're actually drinking today.
I'm actually I think
it's been like 2 or 3 shows since you've had a beer.
I don't have to go to work today. Thank the Lord. And I'm having a beer. And people, I have beer, on the weekends. I don't drink all the time. I don't drink when I have to go to work. But this was definitely needed, because A, just started school, and I've already explained what's been going on. And B, it is a great time to be a craft beer person. And no, Phil, I think I know what you're thinking. No, I'm not having a pumpkin beer.
Oh, why not, dude? It's that time of year.
No, it's the other great time of the year. It's part of my ancestry in a sense, not necessarily the actual festivities or the beer making of it.
Oh, it's Oktoberfest.
It's Oktoberfest. The best time of the year for me. I get to enjoy some of my German ancestry in a way by drinking beer, even though it's not straight from Germany. It is from the great city that we love both, Kansas City, Missouri, the Boulevard's Bob's 47 Oktoberfest beer.
That, actually, speaking of my wife again, is her favorite beer.
It is a great beer. And I just really like the taste of it.
She even said that we should go to Columbia and she would allow me to spend $100 on that beer. I'm like, that beer's not worth $100, but
it's good. For, a regional standpoint, it's good. Of course, it's not Sierra Nevada. Sierra Nevada has a really good Oktoberfest beer. I think Samuel Adams has this Oktoberfest beer. Pretty much everybody has an Oktoberfest beer if you're a beer maker. And the reason why I like the Bob's 47, of course, it's Boulevard. They have a quality standard with all their beers, and we've brought this up before. But there's just something about it when I have a Bob's 47 to Mother's Oktoberfest or some other Oktoberfest beers that aren't Sierra Nevada, Paulinger's, which is a German company, or Samuel Adams, even though I think the Bob's 47 beats out the Samuel Adams, in my opinion. It's just a really nice, smooth lager that you can enjoy on days like this where you could sit out, listen to German folk music, and just enjoy life, enjoy the beer gardens, Even though this is German, laissez le bon temps rouler, let the good times roll. And I said German, I meant French. The beer is finally getting to me. But anyway, it's a really good beer. I'm not saying it's like Woot Stout or any of the top beers that we brought up earlier this year on the Homebrewers Association list, but it's definitely a beer that is good year in and year out. And Phil, I have to ask, what Oktoberfest beer do you like?
I like Bob's, but I really like what Sierra Nevada does every year for their Oktoberfest.
Mm-hmm.
When they pair with a German brewery.
Mm-hmm. Which, that's the one thing that I did forget to talk about, because I did bring
And that's
up,
one I always at least seek out.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one Oktoberfest I make sure to at least get a 6-pack of.
Mm-hmm.
Just because every year, yes, it's that same Marzen style.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the story, and every year it's just a little different.
Mm-hmm. And, with the Bob's 47, I did not know about this, but the reason why they call it Bob's 47 is because it is a tribute to a guy. I don't think it actually talks about it on the bottle, but it does talk about it on the boxes. It was named after a guy named Bob, but he was one of the he was a famous brewmaster or brewer in Kansas City at one of the old breweries before they shut down. And the reason why it's a 47 is because in 1947 he graduated from the U.S. Brewery Association. So he actually became a brewmaster in a sense. So that's why it's kind of a tribute to have the Bob's 47 by Boulevard.
Yep. So for the next month, you'll hear us not talk about pumpkin beers.
I will say that I might try one. I think that's kind of everybody's.
One.
Yeah, I
drink one a year,
mm-hmm.
and it's Schlafly's pumpkin ale.
Mm-hmm.
Because it tastes like pumpkin pie in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But I can literally only drink. I'll buy a 6-pack for the house. The wife and I will drink it, and that will be the end of it.
You give it to your child when he wants pumpkin pie, right? That's what you do.
Yes, obviously. Because, I don't mind the DFS looking into how I parent. Sir, your son is hungover at school. I don't know.
We had pumpkin pie the other night. That probably
he can't handle his alcohol. It's not my fault. He's 8 years old.
I think all 8-year-olds have a pretty good alcohol tolerance.
They should.
They should. Kidding, folks. Kidding. We're all here about the jokes about that. And, of course, I think everybody will have their little pumpkin beer moment, and that will be it for the year.
Yeah. I can't drink a lot of them, but like I said, I always try Schlafly's
mm-hmm.
just because I do enjoy it, but it's a 1 6-pack a year kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to the next part of the show, I think we've kind of turned, I know you're already a dad, but it's kind of a dad sense in a way that we go from talking to beers then to talking about Little League baseball. And so this past week has been, this past Sunday was the Little League, the MLB Little League Classic, which was with the St. Louis Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Little League World Series. But we're going to get to the Classic first, where it was not...
It was fun.
It was fun. The game-wise, let's just get this out of the bag real quick, because we don't want to talk about the game. We want to talk about the aesthetics. The game-wise, I was pissed off because my team lost. 6-3 Pittsburgh. Leak looked like crap. He went out in the third inning. Nova looked well. The Cardinals, had 11 hits. Pittsburgh had 9, and they were the only one that had an error. Really, the big guy on the block that I would say was probably the player of the game, quote unquote, had to be Josh Bell. He had a home run.
Crushed it.
Crushed the ball. And
over right center field.
Crushed the ball. And that was kind of it playing wise. I mean, the play was here and there. There was runs and everything else. But like I said, we're here about the aesthetic here. We're talking outside the batter's box, quote unquote. I'm bringing all the puns today, in a way.
Puntastic.
Thank you. I've been waiting for that all my life.
So what do you call an alligator in a vest?
I don't know.
An investigator.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Maybe that should be my fantasy football team. I think that will be my
investigators.
Yes. And it will be a gator in a vest. That will be the logo of the team.
Do it.
And also, since it is my TV production fantasy football league, it would work. It would work. Anyway, getting back to this, No,
the field was set up cool.
The field was really cool. How everything was set up was...
The uniforms looked nice.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that the players were using different colored bats.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you watch the Little League World Series, their bats are all sorts of different colors because are they still using aluminum?
Yeah, which is now they're called BB Core bats
But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We're not getting into that. But yeah, they've had different color bats. I know a couple guys, we brought this up earlier off the recording, that the Pittsburgh Pirates, some of them had the kind of a highlighter yellow bat. Paul DeYoung had, I think he was like one of the only people on the Cardinals side that had his own custom-made bat, where it was the famous St. Louis Cardinals sock, where the barrel of the bat was all red, but when it got down to the handle, it had the Cardinals stripes, the red, white, blue, white, red, which was really cool, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was like, I need to buy that bat.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. The uniform, like I said, uniforms look nice. I like the socks. The nicknames on the back of the jersey were fun. When they first got off the bat, you saw a picture of them in their Little League.
Mm-hmm. Little
League Abbey and stuff like that.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, and if you watch the game, it sounded different too.
I think it was just because how intimate a minor league ballpark is. Because they weren't playing,
and they didn't add a whole lot of bleachers in either.
No. What happened is they played in the second oldest minor league ballpark in the nation, in Williamsport, which is actually, I believe, is across town from the Little League site. And they, Rob Manfred and the commentary team for ESPN were talking about it, and they were like, maybe we should try to do something with that. So they looked at the stadium, the minor league stadium, which is the Williamsport Crosscutters, which they are part of the Philadelphia Phillies organization.
Phillies Low A team.
Yeah, Low A. So you're not expecting a lot of seats out of it. And, you know, Rob Manfred and the MLB put in some money to somewhat renovate it in a way. Nothing too big where it was just like, oh, instead of a, 2,600 capacity, which it was, they didn't go, it needs to be 8,000, didn't need to, have bleachers out in the backfield and all that stuff, which was really cool. I think the coolest thing, though, that they kept the seating. The coolest thing, though, is that all the little leaguers, the coaches, and their families got into the game for free. And then the tickets that they had left, they were like, instead of, people from Miami, San Francisco, all the big wigs that could have the money could buy these tickets, it was actually Williamsport set up a lottery for it. So people put in their names for the tickets, and whoever, if they pulled out their name, they got the tickets, which was really cool, which I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too. It was really fun. Like I watched the condensed game. I didn't watch the whole game, but so I didn't hear any commentary or anything like that, but it was really cool.
And I think one of the coolest things that I saw that was not only, I guess it was kid affiliated in a way, not necessarily the game, how the jerseys were, how the players had different bats and all that stuff. Tommy Pham had some pretty kick-A kick-A socks where they were different colors that actually were some of the colors that the minor league, not the minor league, but the Little League teams have for the Little League World Series. But if you didn't know, and I think this might have happened with also Josh Harrison too for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but for Tommy Pham first, they got the announcement that they were doing this. And so Tommy Pham, the week before that they left to go on their road trip, went to a children's hospital in the greater St. Louis area and had two kids that, are battling cancer. And he was like, all right, you have a shoe and you have a shoe, decorate it. And that was pretty cool how both the kids had markers, had, crayons. I believe actually the girl had glitter, which she made the toe part of the shoe glittery. So that was like one of the coolest things that he did. And it was for charity, of course. Just that, the one time where, the MLB, I know the NFL is really strict on, their dress codes uniform codes. And the MLB is somewhat, strict in a way, not necessarily how you should look with, if you want stirrups, show the socks or whatever. But you definitely have to have this, But it was cool to see that Tommy Pham had these shoes that he wore for the game with kids that colored the shoes. And for Josh Harrison, it was the day of the game. What happened before the game started, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals all went to the Little League World Series site, and they watched the game or two, talked to the kids and all that stuff. And Josh Harrison was kind of the player reporter for for ESPN, because he did a little bit of reporting on the kids. And he was like, all right, here's my shoes, sign them, and I'm going to wear them tonight. So he let some of the little leaguers sign his shoes, and he wore them, which was another cool thing. And so that was so the idea, go ahead first before I make
I was just going to say, and to kind of just like at the end of the game, we all played Little League, and we all hated doing it, especially after we lost. We had to line up, and we had to shake everybody's hand. And, they don't do that anymore. I get it. They're professional athletes. There's really no need to.
And they already have the opportunity to do that beforehand because
Yep.
Little League games, remember our time schedule was just be there 30 minutes before the game.
Yep.
But
they're there, each team's there hours before the game.
Mm-hmm.
They're hanging out while each team's taking BP and stuff like that. So they're talking, but it was really cool just to see at the end of the game, just each team just kind of line up and just kind of shake each other's hand at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was probably one of the coolest things about that, besides everything going on with what the players were wearing, how the setting was, and everything else. And I did forget that at the Little League site, at the Little League World Series, Tommy Pham did buy over 200 snow cones for Little Leaguers. So, I mean, it was just something that, and it's, hate to kind of get political with it, but, we're having troubling times seeing everything, what's going on in the news with the media and everything else in between, the political atmosphere and the political climate, I should say, of what's going on in the United States. It was just really humbling to see grown men, not only from the United States, but from other countries around the world, playing a game of baseball and enjoying Little Leaguers play, because, once you get into the minor leagues or major leagues, even though we'll never get to see that, but we talk about it every time, it becomes a business. We talk about contracts all the time. We talk about stats, how they need to bump up their stats. With Little Leaguers, you don't even have to worry about that. You just have to make sure that they get on base,
Right. Just quit swinging so far outside.
Yeah, and that's where it was just kind of this moment where it's been humbling for not only for the MLB community and the other subsidiaries to it, if I said that correctly, with the minor leagues and everything else, but it was also humbling for people that watch the game or people that paid attention to the game like us. We're happy to see that these guys were just as humble as ever, just took in every moment and enjoyed it. Even though what really sucked about the game is that the game was actually, it was a real game. It wasn't an exhibition or anything. This actually, it did cost a win for the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh Pirates actually get that win in their win column. And so it was just really nice to see how everything went down for the Little League, the Little League Classic. And I hope it keeps on doing it. Rob Manfred, during his interview with the ESPN commentary crew, he said that it's a year-to-year basis. He's already planning for this year. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit more, that I hope that it's not necessarily the same teams, but I hope it's not the Pittsburgh Pirates versus somebody else. I would like to kind of see either the two
AL teams.
AL teams go at it, or at least like Philadelphia versus somebody. I know that's not necessarily two AL teams, but at least a Pittsburgh team, well, not Pittsburgh, but a Pennsylvania team actually gets to play and show off the state that we really love the game of baseball, and especially we love our hometown, our town of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and let's do this again. Maybe it will be Philadelphia versus Washington, because I know it's got to be some type of high leverage situation, but then again, it depends when the Little League World Series is and how that all works out.
And, looking at the Little League World Series, we're in
I believe,
the semifinals.
We're all confused here because
It's a weird bracket. It's all double elimination.
It used to be, we talked about it earlier. It used to be a pool, pool play. Then, whoever wins their pools get to play each other.
Plays it out in the bracket.
Plays it out in the bracket.
Now it's all bracket play,
which is a bit weird. And there's a little bit of weird, weird rules to this, where every team has to play 3 games. So even the team that...
We don't have to go too far into it because we know probably a whole lot of us aren't paying that close attention to it.
Yeah, and, just that every team has to play 3 times, and the teams that lost twice are already eliminated, but then they just play a 3rd game just for the hell of it. And
just a consolation.
Yeah. And which is really weird is that both games ended with a 11-7.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And
I just not saw that. That is interesting. Okay.
And so, which is a kind of a cool thing too, is that I saw it, but then I really didn't point it out till now, is that the both United States teams didn't play against each other. They played an international team. So the Europe-Africa team played against the Great Lakes, Australia played against the Midwest, and yada, yada, yada. And I think what's been interesting to see what's been going on with the Little League World Series, how everything has changed since we paid attention to it. When was I got into a conversation with one of my coworkers about this, how when you were little, when we were, 7 to at least 15, we loved the Little League World Series because it was kids our age playing in such a impact game where, it was just like the World Series, but for us. But now that we're older, how much have you paid attention to it? Besides the whole podcast thing. Like the couple years before.
I had no idea.
See, there you go. And I think
when I knew we were going to talk about this past couple days, I pulled up the bracket and I was like, yeah, I'm going to look at all these box scores. And then I just was like, you know what? I'm all right. I'll just look at the bracket. And at least on the international side, it's the same kind of teams you kind of always expect to see there.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, Japan, Mexico, and Latin America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't forget about Asia Pacific, which is always the other Asian team, which is either Korea or Chinese Taipei, which this year was Korea.
But Asian Pacific got put out by Mexico, though.
Yeah, which was a sad moment because during that Sunday, Suwon-Oh, was at the Japan Asia Pacific game, and I guess at one inning he started to do a Korean chant for the Korean team. So that was pretty cool in a sense.
And then, on the U.S. side, we got Southwest versus Southeast, and then Mid-Atlantic versus New England.
Yeah, and I think right now, I think the better of the 4 teams, just saying, has been kind of the Southeast team from North Carolina. First of all, they beat the Midwest team 6-0. Then they beat the West team, which is usually kind of the team that goes to the to the World Series because they're the California team. They get the sun all the time, yada, yada, yada. They play all year round. But they beat them 16-0. And out of those 2 games, they had a perfect game and a no-hitter.
Yeah, just dominated. And then the Southwest team, again, it's a team that can play baseball year-round down in Texas.
Mm-hmm. So you
And then New England and Mid-Atlantic have been hubs for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Especially New England with the Cape Cod League and all that.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, but those kids, I mean, they don't get to play Cape Cod. But it is a hub. You are correct. You are correct that it is a hub. But New England and Mid-Atlantic kids don't have the luxury to play all year round unless they want to play in the snow. And that's kind of the same with the Canadian teams. But now, hearing from the ESPN commentary, the players were really stunned how great all these kids are now, because, you know, all these kids are becoming one-sporters and really paying attention to the sport and seeing how everything is, really becoming kind of this kind of a bigger thing in a way, which has been really well for the game of, you know, for Little League Baseball. And yeah, and that's kind of like the culture in baseball. That's what's changing, though. Mm-hmm.
Is because, you know, if you talk to guys in the major league now, they were 3 to 2 sport athletes in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Now some of these kids coming out of the high school is like, no, I focus primarily on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So the level of baseball and the level of competition is changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's, you know, again, probably one of the best things that's been going on, you know, with baseball, is to see all these kids really wanting to play the game of baseball when right now the MLB is kind of going through this quote-unquote demographic crisis where kids aren't going to games, kids aren't paying attention to baseball anymore like they did back in the day and all that stuff. And it's just great to see, you know, all these teams play. And just to, you know, really round out how everything's going, like you said, Japan and Canada are in a fight to be in one of the final spots in the international side of things. And then you have the Southwest versus the Southeast doing the same thing. You already brought up Mid-Atlantic and New England being one of the teams pretty much fighting for a semifinal spot. But then again, it's a double elimination, so whoever wins will play against whoever wins the Southwest versus Southeast game. And then it's kind of the same thing over on the other side in the international bracket. It's Mexico versus Latin America, which right now I kind of want Latin America to win, and I'll explain in a moment. But whoever wins that game gets to play either Canada or Japan, and then it goes all the way through. But the reason why I want the Latin American regional team to win is because they are the team that are from Maracaibo, Venezuela. And if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in Venezuela,
it's only getting worse.
It's only getting worse. And this is kind of, out of everything that's been going on with Venezuela, this is kind of the bright moment. This is kind of the shining moment out of, you know, the diamond in the rough. That's what I'm trying to say. Because everything is going to hell down there. There's rioting. Their money is even worse. I keep on seeing on the internet that their money is worth World of Warcraft money. No joke. And
World of Warcraft.
Yes. And if you guys don't know what World of Warcraft is, it is a massive multiplayer online game on the PC. I'm not going to go into it anymore because then it will just lead down the rabbit hole. But this is kind of the bright spot out of everything that has been going on. Of course, we bring up that Japan is always there. They're always winning, you know, always winning these things.
But they have just like the United States, they have a well-established professional league.
Yeah, and that's where, like, all these international teams like Canada, yeah, they have one. They used to have 2 professional teams, but they don't anymore. I don't even know what their professional system is up in Canada is. Latin America has been going up through the ranks, you know, since the 60s and 70s. Mexico, kind of the same thing. Asia Pacific, kind of the same thing. The Caribbean and all that stuff.
At least the Korean teams do have the KBO.
Yeah, which is always an interesting thing to watch, even though they like to bat flip on foul balls. But that's here or there. But it's a great thing to watch. If you have time to watch it, watch it. I've watched a couple games when I didn't have to binge watch Ballers or Game of Thrones or, TV shows or play video games and all that stuff.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, you watched last week's episode yet?
Yes. Let's not spoil the fans. All right.
We can say spoilers and then they can turn it off.
True. Warning.
Spoiler.
Warning, there will be spoilers.
The White Walkers have a goddamn dragon.
Yeah, which is really
We don't got to get into it, but that last episode just left me stunned.
Left you shook. Like none other. And it's kind of the same way with baseball. Every game that I watch the Cardinals play, they make me shook for some odd reason. They can't do things right, or they do things right, or they do things wrong, and it's just surprising. But enough of Game of Thrones, of course.
And
yeah,
really, it's really about it, though.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the Little League World Series. It's beginning to at least get to the final stages where we start to see these dominant teams come out. And,
yes.
I might watch a game.
I might watch the championship game.
Exactly. When it comes to that, if I'm home and I'm on my day off and everything lines up right,
of course,
I'll watch it.
Yeah. The championship game will always be fun, and I think it will be interesting. Like I said, I hope Latin America makes it all the way because, again, that's been...
It'll be good for them.
Yeah, it'll be good for the country of Venezuela to really rally behind something that is very, that's something that
very
is
troubling.
really bright in a troubled situation. And so that's going to be it for the podcast. Phil, how do you feel about ending this podcast really short?
Where are we at right now?
Currently on the recording, the unedited part before we add our music and everything else. 121.
Oh, gee, that has to be our shortest episode.
I think it is, and I think it's interesting to have everything go like that. So I mean, hey, we had our ramblings, but I really enjoyed this one with you.
I did.
Folks.
It was a good one. Episode
you.
25 we did well. It was fun. We talked about some fun stuff, but be prepared next week. It's going to be. We're gonna hit the wild card race, hot and heavy.
It's going to be heavier than the recent episode of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And
I don't know, because by the time we record, the season will be over.
Will it?
Game of Thrones, yeah, season finale next Sunday.
Really? So they're only going 6 episodes?
Yeah, and then season 8 next year is the season finale.
The season finale or the series finale?
Yeah, series.
Okay. Oh man.
There's too many goddamn questions.
I know. I don't want to think about it, Phil. I don't want to think about it.
So let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. So if you're listening to us on our website, we are also on iTunes, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. And if you didn't hear, which we will put in after we're done doing our initial recording, but if you did hear or didn't hear before our podcast started, we are part of the Tangent Belt Network. Phil, you know more than I do about it. Tell the fans about it.
It's a nice online podcast community network. It is free to join. We were welcomed in by Mark. They have a lot of different channels where you can find a lot of different podcasts. And if you don't find your interest there, I'd be very surprised.
Yes, I will definitely agree with that. And one of your favorite podcasts, the Salty Language Podcast, is on
Brian
the
and Tony
Townsend
are both
Bound
on there.
Network.
They do Brian does The Crazy Life as well, where he talks about mental illness. But Salty Language Podcast is the one I listen to weekly. Him and Brian, Tony and Brian do a very, very good, very funny show.
See, there you go. Bringing all the fun and laughter, and we do this like we do. We bring all the fun and laughter and puns, and the investigator. So I'm gonna do it. I will post it on our, which brings it up. I will post it
Andrew,
on our Twitter.
Where would we find where you would post that?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all underneath the MLBeers podcast banner. And we do also have, which I do need to take a picture for, is the oh man, I guess I've been having a little bit too much today. Would you say Untapped app, which is a great app that we which is a beer app, which is, I guess, social media for beer lovers in a sense.
Yeah, beer enthusiasts.
Beer enthusiasts, thank you. And then, of course, if you want to contact us, we have an email at the majorleaguebeers@gmail.com. Of course, we have our own website too, MLBeers.com. I think it's
MLBeers.wordpress.com.
Yeah, which is stupid. I need to deal with that. But if
we just don't want to pay for it, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's the fact. That is the fact, folks. We don't want to pay anymore for a domain name. But anyways, if you want to contact us individually, mine is the real AWS 13.
And this
Twitter.
Is on Twitter.
Yes, both are on Twitter. And Phil, what is yours?
At Philco816.
So again, that will do it here for the MLBeers podcast, the 25th episode of the podcast. And I hope that we have 25 more, Phil. This has been a joyous
it's been a
ride.
Good time.
Yes, it has been. So anyway, our motto, our creed, our saying for you all for the MLBeers 25th episode: win or lose, there is always booze.